of all, we found out you cannot understand cosmic law until first you understand what? Yourself. You can't get to cosmic love until you first get to cosmic law, and you can't get to cosmic law until you understand yourself. And that's the problem. We don't you see this thing, everybody, you can't wait to get these Newsweek articles. Why? Because nobody knew you had melatonin in your body. You didn't know you had a pineal gland in your body. But the Bible says you do. Jesus said you do. Jacob said you do. It's all through the Bible. It's all through the ancient teachings. They talked about the pineal gland. It's in the Bible. They talked about melatonin. Jesus talked about it. It's in the Bible. But it's hidden. It's talking about invisible things that you can't see. So you have to first understand how to deal with yourself. And so Exodus took you from where? It took you out of Egypt, which is the place of bondage. It is your lower mind. The place of bondage is your fears, the guilt, all of the things that have been put into your head by your friends, by your family, by your churches, by the systems. All of this stuff made you guilty. Here are people that are talking about reading books, and if they see a lady in a nightgown, they have guilt. They get afraid. Oh, she's in a nightgown. That's real, but that's very sad. Oh, they're kissing, they're hugging, they're embracing. Oh, I can't see that. I can't watch that. I'm scared of that. Why are you afraid of people kissing and hugging? Oh, but they can't wait to watch a program about somebody with a machine gun, blowing somebody's head off as they charge up the hills and then drop bombs on people. No, not a problem with that. But she's in a nightgown, she's kissing. What am I going to do? Right. Because they don't understand, they live and dwell in guilt. Guilt and fear, constant, never ends. So what do? You have to, first of all, before you can get to the point of even being able to approach cosmic law, let alone cosmic love, you have to be able to deal with yourself. And what did it say in the Bible, in Exodus? The first thing you have to do in order to get out of the bondage of the lower mind. You have to throw down the rod and it'll turn into a serpent. And what does that mean? It means the rod is your spine, and it means you have to no longer depend on yourself. And when you throw down dependence on yourself, that which is the serpent, the kundalini, the spirit will come alive within you, and you'll be able to flee the bondage of the lower mind region. What's the second thing you have to do in order to get out of the guilt of your mind? You have to stay in the house. You have to stay in your meditation, and then what will happen? All of this garbage will pass over. It'll pass over if you stay in the house. So when you're no longer depending on yourself, you're into meditation, the energy rises up within you, which is the serpent, which is the spirit. You stay in the house in meditation, that thing will pass over you, and you'll go out into the desert. And when you go out into the desert of meditation, the first thing that's going to happen is your emotions are going to start playing tricks on you. It's called the Red Sea. And when you get to that Red Sea, when your emotions are trying to drive you back to all of the problems that you had before, what's going to happen? You're going to look up and the sea's going to open and you're going to be able to cross the emotions and head towards the promised land. You're going to be able to overcome all of these things we talked about in Exodus. Exodus has nothing to do with 40,000 Jews trying to find a street in the desert for 40 years. It has nothing to do with that. That's silly. It is silly for grown people to sit with a book and say they wandered for 40 years. You can't wander for 40 years. You look for the street. Where is it? I don't know. For 40 years you're going to walk around. Never found it. I mean, even if you're so stupid that you don't know which direction it is, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Keep following that direction, you're going to come to something. But it's not talking about that. You wander within yourself. And the number 4 means the fourfold nature. You wander within yourself, looking and searching. And that's what this world has done. People have done. It is a zoo. It is disgusting. People are continuing to wander, and they drop bombs, and they murder, and they separate themselves from each other, and they condemn other people because they don't look like they do, or they don't act like they do, and everybody is separated into their little groups and churches, and they put stained glass on these windows so they can't see the mess that's outside, and they sing inside, but when they go home, it's the same thing. It hasn't changed. There's been no change. It's the violence. My God. You have all of this religion in this country. This is a Christian, Jewish Christian country, and it is a cesspool of drug addiction. Why? Why? because nobody has ever listened to Jesus Christ. Nobody has ever listened to the Bible. It says, the kingdom is within you. And so here it says, you throw down your dependence on the spine. You lift yourself up and you cross that which is the Red Sea. And then we get out to the desert and we get to the point of Mar. Now let me show you something interesting here. And this is the point of everything. There are 4 or 5 stages of consciousness in the human mind in Greek. The first is earth. The second is water. The third is air. The fourth is fire. And everything is based on this. Everything is based on this. Life is based on this. Your existence is based on this. If you take grass seed and you put it in the earth, you put water on it, it comes up into the air. It is touched by the sun, the fire, and you have new life. When Moses was a little kid, they took him. They put him in a little basket in the water. He was taken out of the water, and he found his way to the mountaintop, which is the air. And on the mountaintop, he touched the burning bush, which is the fire, and he became a new person. Everything is that. Everything is that. Baptism. You take your head, you put it in the water, you come up into the air, you're touched by the Spirit, which is the fire, and you have a new mind. But you can't do it by touching real water. All it does is wet your head. You have to take your mind, you put it into the second stage of consciousness in your meditation. You will rise up into the third stage of consciousness, which is air. That's why it says in the Bible, we will rise to meet Jesus in the air. And then you will be touched by the fire, the renewed mind. Everything is like that. Okay? Now, when they come out of Egypt, it is the earth. You come to the Red Sea, which is the water, and Mara. Then you come to that next stage. What happened? They ate quail at night. Where did the birds fly? Through the air. What did they get in the morning? Manna. Where did the bread come? Out of the air. And in 2 weeks, you will conclude this particular baptism, which Exodus is, when you get to the fire mountain. Everything is this. Everything is that. And so this is, the description here is trying to take this, look. What I say to so many people is absolutely outrageous because they can't deal with it. Their minds won't print what I say. Their minds won't print what comes out of the Bible. Their minds is not, they're not capable. Do you see those calendars I made up in the back there? I was up till 3 o'clock in the morning with the computer. And I got the calendars, and I'm looking at the calendar, and I got this big computer, which is the church, and I got this big Epson printer, and I mean, I'm ready to go. And I get the calendar, and I tried to print it, and it wouldn't print. And I tried to print it, and it wouldn't print, and it wouldn't print, and it wouldn't print, and it wouldn't. And I kept looking at the printer, and the printer said, buffer page is full. What is buffer page? Jimmy, buffer? How do I got buffer? And you get freaky at 2:30 in the morning when the thing won't print. You know what you say, I will never leave this room until it prints. But it wouldn't print, it wouldn't print, and it wouldn't print, and I couldn't print the stupid calendar. And finally I did the unpardonable sin. I went to the book. And I opened the book, and I said, book. You know what the book said? If you get a sign that says buffer page is full, it means that your printer does not have enough memory to do the job that you're trying to get it to do. So I looked down the other end of the room where my business office is, and I got this little laptop computer that you can put in your, practically put in your, you can put it in your briefcase, little thing. And I got a little printer, a quarter of the size of the big printer. I said, I wonder, am I going to screw everything up? And when I took the program and I loaded it into this little laptop, and then I got to the time, and I pressed the button print, and I watched. Bzz, 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 bzz. One had the memory, even though it didn't look like it would be able to do it, and the big fancy looking one couldn't do it. Couldn't do it? Do you see? What I'm saying to you is, moving from Exodus to this point of the mountain of the law is for what? It's for, what I have to do with the big computer? I have to take that big printer up to this place in Tom's River, and the guy has to put a new card in there. And then when he puts the new card in there, he has to put these new chips in there so it will have enough memory so that it can then print what it's being told. Do you know what he had me? When you go into meditation all this time, you know what you're doing? You're taking this computer to have new cards and new chips put in so that then you'll be able to print out what's coming from up there. And I'm telling you, unless you take that computer, no matter how much you read, no matter how much you sing, no matter how religious you are, you're never ever going to be able to print that in your mind because it's not capable of taking the information, just like that printer isn't capable of taking the information that was going in. And so this is it. You've got to do it. You've got to take yourself. You've got to put yourself into meditation. You've got to rise up into that third stage of meditation. You've got to be touched by that. And it all comes within you. And that's what this is all about. And then when you've done that, see, when you've gotten to that point where you've gone into the meditation and you've done that, then you turn on the printer inside of you and you can understand cosmic law. It'll print. But it will not print until you first take the computer that's sitting on your head between your ears and have it renewed and have it changed and have a new board put in. And it doesn't make it, because you can't deal with this. See? The left side of your brain is not capable, I don't mean you sitting here now, I'm talking in generalities, of handling what's coming from the right until you get it change, until you have it changed within. And you have it changed within by understanding that energy that goes up the spine, that is talked about in the book of Revelation, that is talked about in the Bible, until you understand about the emotional nature, how you have to look up, until you understand that you have to stay in the house of your meditation, until you cast yourself that tree of life into the water of Mara and get rid of the bitterness inside of you, until you reach that point where you feed on yourself quail inside, and then you can eat the manna bread truth in the morning, until you and what happened? Until you take the rod and touch the stone and the water will flow. What's it say in Newsweek that I'm going to use? It said if you take that energy which raises itself up the spine, it will touch the pineal gland and the melatonin will flow. What's it say in the Bible? You take the rod, you touch the stone, and the water will flow.